the red light.
Yes.
Go to the red light.
Is this thing on?
It's on now.
Go to the light.
All right. It's low relief Brayer texture. Take 42. Action.
To you.
Oh, me. I usually always pass the football to Barb.
Yeah. I'm punting it back to you.
Great. I don't know anything about sports.
That's great.
Anyway, on that note, I made this awesome collage paper. And I did not use the gel plate. I actually did a low relief texture rubbing with the Brayer. So I enjoyed overlapping the colors and intersecting the segments that I did with multi-size Brayers. And I think the key was to do the multiple different size Brayers and to overlap the patterns so you get one kind of big cohesive sheet. So that was my strategy. And your strategy was?
Fail. An epic fail. So
what do they call that in football when you drop the ball and the other guy gets it?
I fumble.
Oh, that's it.
So this is what you probably don't want to do. This is where I set mine up, and I have not just blocks of color on the underneath, but I also did not do the overlap that Elizabeth did. So rather than what looks like a cohesive piece of paper, you have very obvious sections. And that's, I mean, if that's what you want, then that's fine. But I think that this is far more attractive and far more usable. The other thing that I think you should keep in mind, and this is another place that I got into some significant difficulty, is I mean, this worked.
I like that.
But I used too much paint. So the thing that I think is important to take away from this, and you'll see Elizabeth using her gel plate, she's using a smaller plate as a brayer to get that even lighter coating of paint on the brayer. And the other thing that you don't want to do is zoom. There'll be no zooming.
Yeah, you gotta go slow.
Yeah, you have to go slow. And that was the mistake that I made. And two things happen when you do that. First of all, I don't think you get the right low relief look. But the other thing that happens, and I think I was deliberately careful, I culled out the one that didn't look particularly good. The paper has a tendency to start to scrunch under the 6-inch brayer at least, and now you don't have a clean relief. You're getting relief that's caused by crunched paper too. Now if you want that, that's great. So use a size of brayer that's appropriate to the space. Go slow and don't over ink the brayer. I was going to say don't over egg the pudding.
Same difference.
Yeah, right.
Is that British humor?
It is.
Great.
Yes, it is.
I have no idea about British humor either.
Well, you
or
lived in
sports.
London for however long.
Yeah, I did, but still.
You've forgotten it all by now?
Yeah, all that stuff that people know from Downton Abbey or whatever. Yeah, I never watched that.
Yeah, so this is a wonderful process. You can use your stencils in a completely different way. You don't even get them dirty when you're doing this, so that's kind of amazing. And this is what you can accomplish. Just avoid the crap that I did for crying out loud. I mean, honestly, unless you're working in a really small area, you want that big piece of paper or larger piece of paper with that cohesive look that really looks like it was all meant to be together. And that's what I didn't get.
I am the queen of composition.
That's right. We talked about, well, so you have to understand, we filmed this introduction yesterday, except that the button was not on and we weren't actually filming. So in yesterday's introduction, I named you the Queen of Composition, and I had forgotten about that. So we will defer to your judgment.
I'm still wearing my sash and my tiara.
That's right. So shall we go do some stuff?
Yes. One more point, though. Okay. The thin application of paint is super important. We used heavy body paint in this, so you really have to be careful with your thinness when you're using heavy body. If you were using fluid acrylics, a thinner paint, it would naturally occur thinner on your brayer just because of the viscosity of the paint. But this is heavy body paint, so you really have to be careful because it's heavy, so you have to really make sure it's a thin application.
And that's something that I didn't even think of, is you need to make accommodations based on your media. You need to play a little bit and figure out what works and where you need to adjust based on the type of paint that you're using.
Yeah, exactly. So now we'll show you how to do it.
All right, here we go.
So today I am going to be making basically low relief rubbings using wet string tissue paper and some of my Klimt Scribbles and Doodles stencils. I wanted to let you know that I picked the palette out of this book that has been pretty helpful, 1,000 Ideas for Color Schemes. And if you're at a loss for color combinations or you find yourself just defaulting to the same ones all the time, this book has been kind of cool. So right here we have a palette that we have chosen the Amsterdam acrylics to match. So for the dark green, I'm using sap green. For this light green, we're going a little bit brighter and more vibrant. This is the yellowish green. For the light value, we're using the turquoise green. So that's for this middle light color. And then for the lighter purple, we're using the lilac. And for the dark purple all the way to the left, we're using ultramarine violet. So we got real close to the majority of these colors, and it's going to hopefully be a very unique color combination. So before, while we were preparing for this video, I'll just show you some of the other combinations I put together from that book. And this is what we're going for. So I'm going to show you how to make this tissue with several sections of color that are created by different widths of Brayers. So I've got and have used in this a 6-inch Speedball Deluxe Brayer, a 1.5-inch Speedball Deluxe Brayer, and a 4-inch Speedball Deluxe Brayer. But there also exists a 3-inch Speedball Deluxe Brayer and a 2-inch. So you can get 2 more different sizes to kind of create your sections with this. And it's a low relief rubbing over the stencil. So this one was a combo of greens and yellows and grays and a little bit of teal blue. And I think this came out really cool. The base layer of this is sort of a shimmery iridescent one. And then this is in that same color palette. This one again, this is the one where I started getting fun and funky with the little Brayer, and I was like, oh, varying the widths of the Brayers is what's going to give us some unique patterns. And this is the beginning of one. So while I'm cleaning the paint off the plate, I'm going to make cleanup sheets that will eventually become the base for this type of work. So you could just keep working and working because you make the cleanup sheet, then you come back and you put the patterns on it, then you need another cleanup sheet. So you could be doing this for hours. This is in a different palette of pinks and blues and copper and Prussian blue, which is that beautiful dark color. Here we have the pinks and blues and with the Van Dyke brown, but you can see these beautiful sort of soft layers and sections. And that's what we're going for. This one's a little bit more, square chunky. This was all with the 6-inch Brayer, but I love this for a background or for a journal page. It's kind of a great, fun combination of colors. And then this one,
I like that one.
This makes use of some of the small Brayer, some of the different variant size of Brayers, and some layerings of teal, blue, magenta, and copper. So pretty cool. Nice texture and pattern. So the only thing we're using the gel plate for is to put the paint on the Brayer in a nice, smooth, even layer. So I'm going to sort of have that off to the side. And I've got the first sheet that I'm going to start with is not a cleanup sheet, but it is rather a full sheet of the light turquoise green so that we can sort of begin layering on that. So basically when you do this, you're taking one of the stencils and putting it under the tissue paper. So this is the pinwheels. And the reason why we like the wet strength tissue for this project is because it's so thin that it will really show the detail of the low relief rubbing that we're going to do with the Brayer over the top of the stencil. A thicker paper doesn't do quite as good of a job, but the wet strength tissue is so thin that it really allows the relief to show. Then also we're going to be gel printing that to clean off the paper as a cleanup sheet. So we really want to use wet strength tissue because this is durable and strong and it's not going to tear or stick to the plate or become fragile as we put more layers on it. So this process definitely taking advantage of the wet strength tissue. All right, so I don't really know as though there's a big order that you have to do with colors, except that these are both opaque colors. So if I put the dark one down, I can layer light on top of it, which would be kind of cool. And then my green is halfway transparent, and looks like the dark green is totally translucent. So that would be interesting, layered over some other colors. So I'm just gonna put the paint out on the plate, and the first thing I'm gonna do is with the 6-inch. So, and this just is going to take some practice, it took practice for me. I mean, I didn't make the most beautiful prints right away. So you want a nice thin layer of paint on the brayer, not heavy, whoops, not heavy paint, okay? And I've got my stencil under here, and I can find my favorite part of the pattern, and then I'm just gonna roll it in a small segment like that, not complete. And then if I wanna bring the purple back up here, I can also find a different place in the stencil and maybe put just a little bit there. And you see how it really picks up the relief because the paper's so thin. So now I've got this purple that I need to put someplace else. So that's when you get your cleanup sheet and you start another one. And I'm gonna just take the purple off the plate. And I can even take advantage of some of that on here too. Now that I've removed most of the purple, I can even put like a little bit like that. So this is where you're gonna keep using more and more sheets and building base layers. So the next one, I'll use the 4-inch brayer, and let's see what it looks like to put, well, let's do the green. So I'm gonna flip this over so I don't get purple in my green. So again, you gotta kind of roll out a decent amount of it to get the whole brayer covered, and then you end up using it on the cleanup sheet, the excess. Okay, I could put the dark green right into this green though without switching because it's not going to affect it too much. But let's switch the stencil now. So now I'm going to go to this one with all the cool circles.
I think that one is named Circle of Life. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
And the only time today.
And then the idea too is to overlap into this pattern, the first one that you did, a little bit. So let's see what happens when I do that. And maybe I come up longer in this one. And maybe I come right down into that one because this color we can see through. So we don't want to have all these separate sections. It's kind of cool to have them intersect. So now I'm going to grab the smaller brayer and pick up some of that same color. And let's find a small part of this stencil, like maybe right here. And I could put that. So I'm going to come in here and get that small strip of that. And then let's overlap into here. Okay. So it's not super high contrast to the light part, so you don't see it as much. But while we've got green out, let's put the dark green in. And I'm cleaning off the big brayer. Hopefully that's clean enough. And we'll get the dark green, which is going to get a little bit lighter. If you wanted it to stay super dark green, we could have removed that paint, but I don't mind it. So now I'm going to grab the spirally one and put that under here. And let's do a section of that. Let's go into here. So I'm going to go like that.
Ooh,
look at that.
Look at that. That's pretty awesome.
And it stands up really well because it's a very high contrast to the background. You do need to consider your color combinations that way. You know, this really stands up because it's much darker than the background. So then let's put that in another place. So I'll move it over here and just put it like this. And let's bring it into here like that. That's kind of fun. So now I'm gonna take this cleanup sheet here and I'm gonna put it off to the side and get that green. So, and like I said, this is gonna become the base sheet for the next print in the same color palette because it'll be a good bottom layer. So let's see what else. We have not used this light. So there's not a lot of contrast there, but I bet we could get it to go over this, interestingly. So let's go back to the purple side. And I'll go to the 4-inch brayer. The different size of brayers is what makes this fun. Because you can get these thin slivers and these wider marks and kind of vary so you don't have all perfect squares. So let's see. Let's get this one. This one I think is called, I don't know what. Web. Yeah, there we go. And let's put, I am going to pay attention to the part of the pattern that I put in here. So like this. let's let that intersect the dark green a little bit. So I'm gonna come in here. Oh, I was a little heavy on the paint there. That's all right. We'll give ourselves a light spot to add the dark purple to. All right, so yeah, you gotta have a thin layer of paint on your brayer. So let's go in here and see if I can get that in here. Yeah, that's kind of okay, yeah.
And I will be honest, that was the mistake I spent a lot of time making yesterday, was I was using way too much paint. And the other thing that I was doing was rolling the brayer too fast. You have to let it go a little bit more slowly. I've watched you do it, and that seems to be a far more effective option when you are applying the brayer to the surface.
Yeah, I think that's definitely key. Yeah, so now I'm gonna put the dark purple over that light spot because I feel like, you know, you can always fix it, you know? You can always come back with another layer. You don't have to feel like, oh shoot, I went over the green and now I've covered it. So now I'm gonna get a nice, hopefully a nice thin layer of this purple, which is darker than that. So we should be able to get this web to show up over that. So let's see. There it is. And then I want to bring a little bit of that here, like that. And maybe I get a different one, like this one, and put that in the edge here. Ah, that looks really good.
Yes, it does.
I think I have been enjoying the stencils with the big openings for the large patterns, but you're definitely not limited to that. Okay, so, and again, I'm gonna keep cleaning my excess paint on this sheet that I can use next time in the same color palette to do the layers over this. So you get kind of 2 for 1, like that. See, some of those blotchy things are great for the base layer. So now let's go back to the green side and use the dark green. I wonder if I mixed a little dark green with that light green to give it a little bit more oomph, because it's so light. But it sure does look pretty with the purple, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's that kind of acidy green.
Yeah, it's just great. So let's see if I can, let's use this one. And when you're crossing over colors like this, you got to make sure you clean it. You don't want to mix the purple paint on the brayer into the green, because that'll make, it won't be green for long. So let's stir this around. Still have acidy green, but just a little bit subdued, a little bit darker. So let's make sure that's nice and thin on the brayer. And now we'll come down to this one. Put that underneath over here, because I've got that other area of heavy coverage, and I'll put that right in it. So see, we thought maybe that was gonna be messy because it was so solid, but now I've come back and put the light green on it. Ooh, I'm really liking this.
It's great colors.
And now I want to do a thin layer. Let's see, of this one. Right in here. So I'm gonna go next to the other green one and go right up into this. Look at that. I want more of that. Look at that. That came out really good. So let's put that one here. And so I like doing a short one and then a long one. And then I'm gonna add a little bit here, and I'm gonna go long length until my brayer runs out of paint. So it's just gonna get lighter and lighter and lighter as it goes up. So it's kind of fading out, feathering out. And then I'm gonna do another short bit here. I need to get some more color. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's fun, right?
That's awesome.
We can bring, this is the translucent color, right? So you can see the purple through it, which is kind of cool. So that, and again, as you keep rolling, it just gets lighter and kind of feathers out and blends. So now I feel like we need a little bit more of that dark green. because we've sort of got every other color represented except for the dark greens just right here. So, you know, I mean, if I was going to rip these up for collage papers, I wouldn't need to worry about the composition of the page. But if I'm going to use it maybe as a background or cut a strip of it and put it somewhere in my mixed media work, or you may use it in a journal, then you may want to organize this page to be beautiful so that you can just adhere it down, you know, in a bigger piece as part of your mixed media. So I am kind of curating what goes where. So now I've got my dark green. I don't want to use the same stencil there that I used before. So I think I'm going to come back to this Pinwheels one and put a bit of that in here. Let's see what happens if I put it in here. And another short one here. Yeah, like that. And then even I could come this way on the bottom with it. Sort of like that. Oh, I love that.
Yep.
And let's pull this out to fade out. Without adding any more paint, it fades out that way. So look at that. And gosh, I love that color combo.
It's really nice.
Then I want to try, okay, so I'm going to take this one off again, or maybe I need another piece, because this is like perfect the way it is, isn't it?
It's pretty. I wouldn't mess with it. And God knows we've got plenty of paper here.
So yeah, so these cleanup sheets, like I said, they are going to be the base, working in the same color palette, so I can keep going without switching my color palette once I have these cleanup sheets. And yesterday I did this for hours in the same color palette. So, okay, so then one more thing, I just wanted to add a little bit more of the dark purple. So I'm going to flip back to the purple side. And we are working on our non-stick craft mat, so this all just wipes off with water and paper towel pretty easy, which is really nice. So let's see, let's come back to the 6-inch brayer, which I need to make sure doesn't have any green on it. And see what we can do with one more different stencil. So, oh, I don't know.
There's one over here. Did you use that one over there in the corner with the hooks, the kind of the spirally hooks?
Yes, that's this.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So it is.
Let's see. I hate to cover up those little circles because that's so fun. So let's see. Let's see. Gosh, I might be out of room. Well, let's see if I can put it here. So, yeah, there we go. So bring a little pattern over that dark green. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you can't, it's just, it's such an interesting method that creates, you'll never recreate this. I mean, even if you watched yourself on the video and you went back and did the same things over and over again, you just can't recreate it. And it is so, so pretty.
So look at that. That's a beautiful piece in a really nice color palette. And now I've got two base sheets that I use to clean up my gel plate that I can do it again on. And this one, I'll put that purple on here. So you can just, at some point you have to use the paper towel in the water to clean off the gel plate because you'll never be able to be done. But you know, I hate doing that. I hate wasting paint. But again, here's that wet strength tissue, the strength of it as we put, you know, this partially dried paint on it and pull it off, and it's not tearing. And again, it's the wet strength tissue that allows this relief rubbing to show through so well because the paper's so thin and strong. So that's that.
And it's pretty awesome.
Pretty cool, I must say. And go.
Buttons on, timer's counting.
That's it. That's all we have to say, really. Yeah, we don't really have anything else to say, do we?
No, we're pretty much done. I mean, this is such a fun process when it's done correctly, when you have the queen of composition who is doing her thing. But give it a try. It really is not difficult to do. Just play around a little bit, roll slow, not too much paint, and you'll be good to go.
And you're good to go.
Yeah. And we're gonna go.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.